Today let us discuss about classification algorithms. So the first algorithm that we are going to consider is Navy-Bayes algorithm. Hope you all know about what is the difference between classification and regression. See, first let me tell why we go for classification algorithm. Consider that you are a product manager. You want to classify the customer reviews in positive and negative classes. Or consider that if you are a loan manager, you want to identify which loan applicants are safe and which loan applicants are risky. If you are a healthcare analyst, you want to predict which patients can suffer from a disease. For example, which patient can suffer from diabetes disease and which patients are free from diabetes disease. So all these are examples of classification, that is predicting whether it comes under positive or negative class, or predicting whether a loan is safe or risky, or predicting whether a person is affected by a disease or not. So all these examples I have told so far comes under binary classification, that is we are predicting either it falls under any one of the category, positive or negative, safe or risky, suffer from a disease or not suffer from a disease. So this is an example of a classification. So Navy-Bayes algorithm is the straightforward approach and it is a first classification algorithm. So this Navy-Bayes algorithm is suitable for a large chunk of data. It can be used for large amount of data, and it is successfully used in lot of applications like spam filtering, text classification, sentiment analysis and recommender system. The basic background of Bayes algorithm is that it uses Bayes theorem. So in mathematics we have studied about Bayes theorem. So Bayes theorem is used for finding out the probability of unknown classes. It basically uses probability. Navy-Bayes classification algorithm, as it uses the Bayes theorem for working, it is named as Navy-Bayes classification. Classification workflow. See, whenever you perform classification, the first step is to understand the problem. First we need to understand the problem, and then we need to identify the potential features and labels. So features are nothing but they are the attributes that affect the results of the label. See, for example, if this is a data set, here we are having lot of features. For example, age is a feature, income is a feature, education is a feature. So these three are features. The result, what we are going to find is whether we can provide loan or not. So this is called as target attribute. So target attribute is the result. So these features are meant for affecting this result. So features are nothing but these are the attributes which affect the result of the label. So these characteristics are known as features, and this help to model the classification algorithms. For example, in the case of a loan prediction, in the case of a banker's manager's identity, customer's occupation, income, age, location, previous loan history, transaction history, credit score, all these are known as features in case of a loan distribution dataset. And the result is called as the target attribute. Okay. So usually the classification has two phases, a learning phase and a evaluation phase. So in the learning phase, what we will do means we will try to build a model. How we will build a model? So usually we call it as a training. Building a model, we call it as a training. Okay, we try to train using the data set, and that becomes a model. Using that model, we try to input some data set. That data set is called as testing data set, in order to find out whether my classifier, my model is working good or not. So that phase is called as evaluation phase. Okay, so in the learning phase we will try to create a model. In the evaluation phase we try to test whether my classifier is performing good or not. How we will measure the performance? Usually performance is measured on the basis of various parameters like accuracy, error, precision and recall. So all these have some formulas for calculating. So in from the scratch, if you are building a model from the scratch, for finding out the performance we will use some formulas for calculating, whereas since we are using Python, we are having separate packages for finding out the accuracy, error, precision and recall. Simply we will give some syntaxes to find out the accuracy, error, precision and recall. Whatever we need to evaluate the performance we can find out using Python. Now let us start with our model. As I told before, this is how a data is separated. Usually we will separate the data into training set and test set. Using the training data we will create a model, and using the test data we will evaluate the model. So usually the model is evaluated and the performance is measured by accuracy, precision and recall. Next let us see the Bayes theorem. Naive Bayes theorem is a statistical classification technique based on the Bayes theorem, and it is one of the simplest supervised learning algorithm, and it is also a fastest algorithm. The accuracy of this algorithm is also much better. Okay, and the speed of, that is the working speed of this algorithm is also very much faster, and this algorithm also can handle large amount of data sets. These are some of the important points to be remembered with Bayes theorem. Okay, see, Naive Bayes classifier assumes that the effect of a particular feature in a class is independent of the other feature. That is, it will treat all the features as independent to other features. It won't consider that the features are dependent upon each other. See, in the previous example I have told age is an income, age is a feature, income is a feature, education is a feature. Considering these features, it will consider everything separately only. Age is considered as a separate independent feature, income is considered as a separate feature. So likewise all the features will be considered independently only. So even these features are interdependent, they are considered independent only by the Bayes theorem. So this assumption helps to build the model in a simplified manner, and that's why we call the Naive Bayes theorem as naive. Okay, so this assumption of considering all the features independently is called as class conditional independence. Okay, so as I told before, Naive Bayes algorithm works on the principle of Bayes theorem. So before seeing about Bayes theorem, let me tell an example. See whether I need to find out a person will buy a computer or not. So the features that I am giving is, the customer is 35 years old and he earns 40,000 rupees and his credit rating is fair. So how I will assume the customer's feature? That is, he is a 35 years old customer with an income of $40,000 and fair credit rating. So from using this feature set, I can form a hypothesis. Hypothesis is nothing but whether the customer will buy a computer or not. So that is called as hypothesis. So what is X? X is nothing but the different combination of features. So what is mean by hypothesis? Hypothesis is nothing but what we are going to find, what we are going to assume, whether he will buy a computer or the customer will not buy a computer. So we have to prove that whether this hypothesis holds true or not. So with this example, let us see Bayes theorem. So Bayes theorem is nothing but it helps to find the probability of an event occurring given the probability of another event that has already occurred. Okay, so it is stated mathematically as P of h by x is equal to P of x by h into P of h divided by P of x. So what is mean by P of h by x? So P of h by x is nothing but it is called as posterior probability of H. That is probability that a customer will buy a computer given that we know his age, credit rating and income. Then what is mean by P of H? P of H is called as prior probability of H. That is probability that the customer will buy a computer regardless of age, credit rating and income. So here we are not considering any features. We are considering only the hypothesis. That is called as prior probability of H. Then P of X by H. P of X by H is nothing but, here first we will represent the input features. That is probability that the customer is 35 years old, have fair credit rating and earn $40,000. So given that he has bought our computer. So that is called as posterior probability of X. Posterior probability of X. Then P of X. P of X is nothing but, it is prior probability of X. For example, probability that a person from our set of customers is 35 years old, have fair credit rating and earns 40,000. So that is called as prior probability of X. So what is P of H by X? P of H by X is called as posterior probability of H, and P of H is prior probability of H, and P of X by H is posterior probability of X, and P of X is prior probability of X. Okay. Now let us see how this Navy Bears classifier works with an example. I have taken a weather data set. So let me show the weather data set. So this is the weather data set I have taken. So here we are having the attributes as weather and temperature. So these are the two attributes, and what I am going to predict is whether the players will play or not. So here weather and temperature. So these two are called as features and play is the target label. Okay. So we have already seen the Bayes theorem formula. Now we are going to apply this Bayes theorem formula for our data set. I am going to represent it by using two approaches, by using a single feature and then by using multiple feature. First, in case of a single feature, before applying into the formula, P of H by X is equal to P of X by H into P of H divided by P of X. So before applying into the formula, first step is we have to calculate the prior probability for given class labels. Next, we have to find out the likelihood probability with each attribute for each class. Then we need to put these values in Bayes formula and calculate the posterior probability. Then finally we need to see which class has a higher probability given the input belongs to the higher probability class. Okay. First step, we need to find out prior probability. Then we need to find out likelihood probability. Then we have to substitute in the formulas and we have to calculate the posterior probability. So after finding the posterior probability for both the classes, we have to find out which has the higher posterior probability and we have to take that as the output. Okay. Now let us check it with an example. I have told likelihood probability and all. So for simplifying this prior and posterior probability calculation, we will use two tables. First table is called frequency table and the next table is called likelihood tables. So both these two tables will help to calculate the prior and posterior probability. Okay. So the frequency table, what it contains means, it contains the occurrence of labels for all the features. Okay. Occurrence of labels. What is mean by label? Label is nothing but the target values. For all the features, how much the target values are occurring. So likewise we will calculate. That table is called as frequency table. So likelihood tables, in likelihood tables there are two types. One is likelihood table 1 and this shows the prior probabilities of labels, and likelihood table 2, this shows the posterior probability. Okay. First let us check with an example. So this is the weather prediction data set. As I told before, we are taking only one feature. Okay, we are taking only one feature and the feature that we are considering here is weather, and the target label is the play. whether the players will play or not. Okay, how many classes are there under weather? 3 classes are there: overcast, sunny and rainy. Okay, first let us calculate the frequency table. So frequency table, what we will calculate? In frequency table we will calculate the occurrence of labels for all the features. Okay, so for overcast, sunny and rainy, for each of the classes we need to calculate the occurrence of the label, that is the target label play, how much time it occurs for each of the classes. So if you take overcast, how many no's are there? How many no's are there for overcast? No no's are there, so it is equal to 0. How many yes are there? 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 yes are there. And if you take sunny class, how many no's are there? 1 and 2. And if you take yes, how many s are there in sunny class? 1, 2 and 3. 3 s are there. If you take rainy, how many no's are there? 1, 2. 1, 2 and 3. 3 no's are there. If you take yes for rainy, how many s are there? 1, 2. 2 s are there. So after finding out the occurrence of the labels to all the features, we need to sum up how many no's are there, totally how many s are there. So totally how many no's? 2 plus 3, 5. How many yes? 4 plus 3, 7. 7 plus 2, 9. So this is the total number of s and total number of no. So totally how much s and no are there? 5 plus 9 equal to what? Equal to 14. So this is nothing but the total number of target entries that are present in our data set. Okay, totally how many target entries are there? 14. After calculating the frequency table, using that frequency table we need to calculate the likelihood table. So first let us calculate the likelihood table 1. So likelihood table 1 shows the prior probabilities of labels. Okay, how to calculate the prior probabilities? So weather, if in the weather there are 3 classes: forecast, sunny and rainy, and the target labels are no and yes. So how to calculate the prior probability means, already we have calculated how many no's are there, how many s are there. So the same frequency table we are using. So prior probabilities is nothing but among the total number of records, how many s are there under overcast. So what is the total number of records? 14 records. Under 14 records, how many yes we are having under overcast? 4 yes. So 4 by 14. So that is equal to 0.29. Similarly, what is the total number of records for sunny? 2 plus 3, 5. What is the total number of records? 14. So 5 divided by 14 is equal to 0.36. And rainy, how many rainy records are there? 5 records are there under no and yes. Under both no and yes, 5 records are there. So how in the total we are having 14 records. So 5 divided by 14 is equal to 0.36. Okay, as like calculating in this row order, we have to calculate in the column order also. Okay, so here what is the total number of no's? 5. So this total number of no's is equal to 5. So how much it is out of the total number? What is the total number of records? 14. So 4 by 5 by 14. Then 9 is total number of yes. So totally how many records we are having? 14 records. Among the 14 records, how many yes are there? 9 by 14, that is equal to 0.64 records are there for S. Next, after calculating the likelihood table 1, we have to calculate the likelihood table 2. So in the likelihood table 2, we will calculate the posterior probability. So we have to calculate the posterior probability for each labels, for no as well as for yes. So if we consider for no, see, for overcast how many no's are there? 0 no's are there. So totally how many no's? 5 no's. So 0 divided by 5 equal to 0. For overcast, how many yes are there? 4. So in totally how many yes? 9. So 4 divided by 9 is equal to 0.44. So separately for each labels, for no and yes, we have to calculate the posterior probability. See, as like overcast, you have to calculate for sunny and rainy. Okay, sunny, how many no's are there? 2 no's are there. So totally how many no's we are having in our target label? 5 no's we are having. So 2 divided by 5 is equal to 0.4. Then how many S are there in Sunny? 3 S are there. Totally how many S's we are having in the target? 9 S we are having. So 3 divided by 9 is equal to what? Similarly, we have to calculate for Rainy also. So using these frequency table, likelihood table and likelihood table 1 and likelihood table 2, we can calculate the prior probabilities and posterior probabilities. Okay. Using this, we are going to apply in our Bayes theorem formula. So what is our formula? P of H by X is equal to P of X by H into P of H divided by P of X. So this is the Bayes theorem. Okay. So here what feature we have taken? We have taken weather feature. So in the weather feature, I am going to consider a particular class. What class I am going to consider is weather class. So when the weather is forecast, we are going to find the probability of playing. How much probability they will play. Whether they will play or whether they will not play when the weather is forecast. So this is what we are going to find now. Okay. So overcast is what? It is our attribute X. Okay. So P of H by X. First let us calculate for yes. Yes, when the weather is overcast, they will play. After that we will calculate when the weather is overcast, they will not play. Okay. We have to calculate the probability for both, whether they will play or whether they will not play when the weather is overcast. So first let us consider when the weather is overcast, they will play. Okay. So P of yes by overcast. So what hypothesis we have taken? The players will play. Okay. P of yes by overcast is equal to, what is X here? Overcast. Probability of overcast by S into hypothesis is probability of yes divided by probability of overcast. P of X is nothing but overcast. First we need to calculate the prior probabilities. What is the prior probability of P of overcast? What is the prior probability of P of overcast? 4 by 14. 4 by 14. Then what is the probability for S? So totally how many S are there? 9 S are there. So 9 divided by 14. Okay. So this is the prior probabilities. Then we have to calculate the posterior probability. P of overcast by S. So already we have calculated posterior probability for yes, no? For overcast, that is equal to what? That is equal to 4 by 9. 4 by 9. Okay. After finding out, we have to simply substitute in this formula. So what is P of S by overcast? That is what we are going to find. What is P of overcast by S? So overcast by S is equal to 0.44 multiplied by, what is P of H? P of H is probability of yes, that is equal to 0.64 divided by probability of overcast. What is the probability of overcast? 0.29 divided by 0.29. So if we compute this, it is equal to 0.98, that is equal to 1. Okay. Now we need to calculate for the hypothesis that the players will not play. Okay. So P of H, what we need to take? We need to consider as no. So in this example, we have considered P of H is equal to yes. Similarly, we have to find out for P of H is equal to no also. So probability of no by overcast is equal to probability of overcast by no into P of no divided by probability of overcast. Instead of S, I am taking no. First step, we have to calculate the prior probabilities. What is the probability of overcast? Already we have found 4 by 14, that is equal to 0.29. What is the probability of no? What is the probability of no? That is equal to 5 by 14. So 5 by 14. Then we have to calculate the posterior probability. So posterior probability for no, for the class overcast. For the class overcast, what is the posterior probability for no? 0 by 5, that is equal to 0. That is equal to 0. Then we have to substitute that in this formula. Probability of no by overcast is equal to probability of overcast by no is equal to 0, and probability of no is equal to 0.36 divided by probability of overcast is equal to 0.29. If we simplify this, it is equal to 0. So considering both probabilities, whether the players will play or the players will not play, considering both the probabilities, which is having higher? The probability of yes class is having higher, because it is equal to what? It is equal to 0.98, whereas for no class it is equal to what? It is equal to 0. Which is bigger, 0 or 0.98? 0.98 is bigger, so the probability of yes class is higher. That means when the weather is overcast, definitely the players will play the sport. So this is what we have predicted. So this is for a single feature. Now let us consider multiple feature. Okay, in case of multiple features, the same steps. We have to calculate the prior probability for given class labels. Then we have to calculate the conditional probability with each attribute for each class. Then we have to multiply same class conditional probability. Then we have to multiply prior probability with step 3 probability. Then we have to see which class has higher probability. Higher probability class belongs to given input set. Okay, so the two features that we are taking is weather and temperature. So first, the hypothesis that I am taking is probability of S. Okay, so probability of play equal to yes, and weather I am taking overcast, and temperature I am taking mild. So two features I am taking, overcast and mild, that belongs to weather feature, and mild belongs to temperature feature. So this is equal to P of H by X. So that is equal to P of X by H. What is X here? Weather equal to overcast, comma, temperature equal to mild. H is nothing but play equal to yes. Okay, so this is the first equation. Oh, into P of H we need to write. P of H is nothing but P of play equal to yes. So in order to find this, since we are considering more than one feature, P of weather equal to overcast, temp equal to mild, and play equal to yes, we are dividing into two. P of probability of overcast, how many S are there, and probability of mild, how many S are there. So we are splitting this into two. For two features we are splitting. Probability of overcast, how many S are there, probability of mild, how many S are there. Okay, and finally we will substitute in this formula. So first thing, we need to calculate the prior probabilities. So we will calculate for our hypothesis probability of yes. We know how many S are there, totally 9 S are there. Total number of records is 14. So 9 by 14 is equal to 0.64. Then probability of overcast is equal to yes, also we know from the likelihood table 2, that is equal to 4 by 9. So the value is 0.44. Similarly, we need to find how many S are there for mild. See, for mild, how many S are there? So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 4 S are there for mild. Okay, so 4 by 9, that is equal to 0.44. Now you have to put these posterior probabilities in this equation. If you put, what is the overall result of this one? What is P of overcast by S? So that is equal to 0.44. And what is P of mild by S? So that is equal to 0.44. 0.44 into 0.44, that is equal to 0.1936. Now we need to substitute this prior probability and posterior probability in our main formula. So what is the posterior probability? 0.1936. What is prior probability? 0.64. When we multiply both, that is equal to 0.124. As we found for probability is equal to yes, we need to find for probability equal to no also. So the same step we need to follow. So probability of no already we know 0.36. So probability of overcast is equal to no, that is equal to 0, and we have to find how many no's are there with mild. How many no's are there with mild? 1, 2. 2 no's are there with mild. Okay, so 2 by 5, that is equal to 0.4. Again we have to substitute this posterior probabilities in this formula. So finally we will obtain the value as equal to 0. Okay, while considering this, again the probability of yes is having higher value. So we can definitely say that when the weather is overcast and the temperature is mild, that the players will definitely play the sport. So this is how we need to calculate the probability when we consider multiple features. So this logic is used by our Navier-Beer's algorithm. Okay, so if you need to code by using this formula, you can code it from the scratch, but Python will have separate package called sklearn. In that sklearn we are having built-in libraries for finding out this Navier-Beer's algorithm. We are simply going to call this libraries and we are going to find out our model. Okay, so before going into the coding part, I need to say the various uses for Navier-Beer's classification. So Navier-Beer's classification is used for text classification, it is used for spam filtering, and it is also used for recommended system also. The advantages and disadvantages. So first advantages is that it is a fastest algorithm and the result produced by this algorithm is very much accurate, and the computational cost is very low, and it can work on large data set, and it can be used with multi-class prediction problems, and it is perform well in case of text analytics also. So the drawback is that the class conditional independence problem. So I hope you remember what is about class conditional independence. Class conditional independence is nothing but it will consider each and every features independently though they are dependent. So this assumption will help in loss of accuracy with Navier-Beer's algorithm. Okay, so if there is no training tuple for a particular class, what it assumes that is zero posterior probability. So in that case the model is unable to make predictions, so that problem is known as zero probability or frequency problem. See, consider that in our example itself, when the class is for weather feature, for the class overcast, there is no nose, so we will consider that as what? 0 only. So for all the predictions it is equal to what? When the probability is no, it is equal to 0 only. So that problem is known as zero probability frequency problem. If there is no training tuple for a particular class, it will consider 0 for that, zero posterior probability value for that tuple. Okay, so that is the major drawback of Navier-Beer's classification algorithm. Okay, this will helps us to lose accuracy for our models. And also, since this Navier-Beer's algorithm is considering everything as independent features, practically the features are not independent. Definitely some dependency will be there among the features. So that is also a biggest drawback of Navier-Beer's algorithm. Okay, then nearly 5 types of classifiers are there with Navier-Beer's: Gaussian Navier-Beer's, multinomial Navier-Beer's, complement Navier-Beer's, Bernoulli Navier-Beer's, and categorical Navier-Beer's. So Gaussian Navier-Beer's, it uses the Gaussian Navier-Beer's algorithm for classification. And multinomial Navier-Beos, it implements the Navier-Beos algorithm for multinomially distributed data. Okay, multinomially distributed data, and this is one of the two classic Navier-Beos variants that is used in text classification. Okay, then complement Navier-Beos, it implements the complement Navier-Beos, CNB. It is called a CNB algorithm. So this is an adaptation of the standard multinomial Navier-Beos algorithm, and this is practically suited for datasets when the datasets is completely imbalanced. Next, Bernoulli Navier-Beos. So it implements the Navier-Beos training and classification algorithms for the data that is distributed according to multivariate Bernoulli distribution. That is, there may be multiple features, but each one is assumed to be a binary value, Boolean variable. Okay, so that is called as Bernoulli Navier-Beos. Then categorical Navier-Beos. So this implements the categorical Navier-Beos algorithm for categorically distributed data. So categorically distributed data is nothing but each data falls under one category. So we have taken that weather data set, right? So in that weather data set, each feature is what is distributed categorically only. If you take weather, we are having three categories: sunny, rainy, and overcast. If you take temperature, we are having two categories: mild, hot. Likewise, we are having certain categories, right? So for that kind of data, we will go with categorical Navier-Beos. So these are the different types of classifiers available in Navier-Beos algorithm. Now let us discuss the program. So as I told before, if you want to implement from the scratch, you can go with the Bayes theorem. So I have taught you a simple example of how to calculate the probability, that is P of H by X posterior probability for H by using the Bayes theorem. You can use that formula and you can develop from the scratch of how to build a Navier-Beos algorithm. But that is not needed because in Python we are having packages. We can simply use that libraries and packages for performing the Navier-Beos algorithm. Okay. So first let me import the necessary packages. Since I need to do pre-processing because the dataset that I have taken as the categorical dataset, that is it is not numerical dataset, it is completely text based dataset. So all our machine learning algorithms will work fine with numerical dataset only. So we need to convert these text data into a numerical form. Okay, for that I am going to use label encoder. So that comes under sklearn package. From sklearn I am importing pre-processing. Then I am going to import my dataset. So now my data set is imported. Yes. Next I am going to use pandas. So pandas is a package that is used to manipulate with our data. So I am importing panda and I am reading the CSV file. What a file I am uploaded, weather.csv is the file I have uploaded it. Okay. Now I am just reading the head. Head is nothing but it will print the first 5 records. Okay, this is my first 5 records. So there is no need to print only the head. You can print and see the complete data set also. Why we are using head function or tail function means if my data set, if our data set is very big, a lot of space will occupy for viewing the complete data set. So in order to avoid that only, we will be viewing the first 5 records or the last 5 records using head and tail function. Okay, next step we need to do what? We need to transform these text data into numerical data. As I told before, I have imported a label encoder for that. So two types, there are two encoders for converting, label encoder and one hot encoder. So label encoder, what it will do means it will convert it, depends upon the categories. Okay, for each category, depending upon the alphabetical order, it will assume a number. See, here we are having 3 categories, right, in the weather: sunny, overcast and rainy. Okay, so if we consider sunny, overcast and rainy, which will comes first alphabetically? M and O. O will comes first. M and O, P, Q or S, then rainy will come, then sunny will comes. Okay, alphabetically overcast will come first, so it assumes 0 for overcast, and rainy will comes next, so it assumes 1 for rainy, and sunny will comes later, so it assumes 2 for sunny. So likewise, alphabetically according to the categories, it will provide unique numbers. So that is what label encoder will do. In order to use that label encoder, already we have imported package, no? So that complete function is stored where? It is stored in the object le. I am going to call le dot fit transform. So fit transform helps to transform my text data into a numerical form. So what data I am going to transform first? First I am going to take weather data, weather feature alone, and I will transform it, and I will store it in the same dataset itself. I am not going to store it in the different dataset. I am going to save it in the same dataset under the same column itself. I am going to replace it. Okay, so if I execute, it will be replaced. Now if I print the weather, it will be printed like this. So you can check with our complete dataset. In our complete dataset, only the weather column has been changed. See, only the weather column has been changed. The remaining 2 remains as it is. So we need to convert these text data also. So in the next step, I am going to convert my temperature value, temp value, and I need to convert the play value. Okay, so now all the values have been converted. If I view the head, see, all the text data is converted to numerical form. Okay, next step, before creating a model, we need to do what? We need to find out the features, and we need to find out the target labels. We need to find out features and labels. So here, which is label? Play is our label, and which is features? Weather and temperature is our feature. So what I am going to do means, I am going to combine this weather and temperature into a single into a single attribute. Okay, into a single variable. I am going to combine this weather and temperature, and I am going to take the play field alone in another variable. Okay, another data frame. We will call it as a data frame here, because we are dealing with data, right? So we will call it as a data frame only. Okay, so weather and temperature feature, weather and temperature attribute will be collected in a separate data frame, and play is what? Play is our target label, and it is collected in a separate data frame. Okay, so first of all, I will extract the feature columns. So what are the feature columns? Weather and temperature is my feature column. I am taking it, and from my data frame, I am going to extract these feature columns, weather and temperature, and I am going to store it under X. X is a separate data frame that contains only the features. And from my original data frame, I am going to extract only the label, that is play. Play is my label, right? And I am going to store it in a separate data frame Y. Okay, why I need to do this? Only because after separating the features and labels, we can undergo training. Okay, we need to find how my features are affecting my labels. That's why. Now what X contains? X contains my feature column, and what Y contain? It contain my label. So X contain weather and temperature, and Y contain play. Next step is, we need to separate our data set into training part and testing part. I have already explained, right? Before constructing the model, we have to split our data set into training part and testing part. So using the training part only, we will do what? We will do constructing the model, building the model, and using the test data set only, we will try to evaluate the performance of the model, isn't it? So for that, we will separate our separating our data set into training data set and testing data set. You can separate manually also. For example, if there are 100 records, you can take the first 75 records for training, and you can keep the rest of the 25 records as for testing. You can do like that only, or you can also separate randomly. Okay, half you can take, but the usual procedure what we will do means, usually we should consider the training data set as a bigger one. Always the training data set should contain more number of records, because using that only we are going to build a model. So our model should train it with more number of data set, then only our model will be highly accurate. Okay, so always for building a model we have to consider more number of records. So you have to keep it in mind, always training data set should contain more number of records, and testing data set will contain less number of records. Okay, so the thumb rule for dividing the training data set and testing data set is, we will usually follow 80:20. That is 80% of the records will be considered for training and 20% of the records will be considered for testing, right? As I told before, you can also split manually, but there is a separate package in my sklearn.model selection that is called as train test split library function. So we can import this library function for automatically splitting my data into training part and testing part. So what we will do means, here in train test split function, it contains 4 attributes. One, you have to give your features, where your features are stored. It is stored in the data frame X. And Y is nothing but it contains the target labels, right? That is the data frame containing my label. So Y, that is, you have to give the features and you have to give the labels, then you have to specify the test size. Here I am giving 0.3, that is 30% of the data is considered for test, and so 70% of the data is considered for training. So we are here you are following 70:30 rule, and random state is equal to 109. So randomly every 109 records will be shuffled, and it is undergone in this train and test split separation, right? Now after giving all the attributes, the results will be stored under 4 data: X train, X test, Y train and Y test. So X train will contain the training features, and Y train is contain the training labels. You know that X data frame contain features and Y data set contain labels, right? So X train contains the features for training and Y train contains the labels for training, and X test contains the features for testing and Y test contains the labels for testing. Okay, after splitting our data set, we will import one of our classifiers. So we have already seen 5 classifiers, right? Bernoulli Naive Bayes, categorical Naive Bayes, and Gaussian Naive Bayes, multinomial Naive Bayes, complement Naive Bayes. You can use any classifier. As of now I am going to use Gaussian Naive Bayes classifier. So in order to use Gaussian Naive Bayes classifier, we have a package called sklearn. In sklearn package, Gaussian NB is a library function. We can simply call that library function and we can create our Naive Bayes algorithm, Naive Bayes model. Okay, so from sklearn.naive Bayes I am importing Gaussian NB, and after importing it, you need to create a object for your Gaussian NB. GNB is equal to Gaussian NB. Then we have to train it. For train, what we will use? We will use fit function. So gnb.fit. So it will helps to build a model using Gaussian NB. So for training, what we need to give? We need to give features and labels. So features are present in X train and labels are present in Y train. So after executing it, so this is the result. Now successfully we have created a model. Okay, now we have to test whether my model is working good or not. We have to evaluate the performance of a model. So for evaluating the performance of a model, what we will give? We will give our test data and check how it is working, whether it is working good or not. Okay, so for that we will use predict function. So gnb.predict. For testing, usually we will give only the features. X test is nothing but the features. Okay, so when we execute it, the result will be stored in ypredict. Okay, the result will be stored in ypredict. Now we need to check how accurate my model is. Okay, so the actual result of that is the actual labels are stored under where? It is stored in y test. The predicted result are stored where? Y predict. So we have to compare and see. Compare the accuracy value of the actual labels and the values that we have predicted. We have to compare. So for comparing it, the metric we are using here is accuracy. So accuracy is also there in sklearn package. From sklearn we are importing metrics. So metrics dot accuracy score. For calculating the accuracy, we have to give the labels, testing labels, as well as the predicted one. If you execute it, the accuracy we are obtaining is 0.75. Why this much less accuracy? You may ask, why this much less accuracy? Why? Because we have considered only a small data set, right? We have considered only a data set with 14 records. This is a very small data set. So if the data set is larger, then the accuracy value will also be larger. Okay, you can manually check also. You can manually check what is the result. How we can do that? Simply you print y test. Okay, then you print y predict. Okay, for 12th record it is 1. Now let us see. For 12th record it is 1. Yes, the answer is same. For 7th record the actual value is 0 but the predicted value is 1. It is wrong, it wrongly predicted. For 10th record the actual value is 1, the predicted value is also 1. See, it is predicted correctly. For 9th record the actual value is 1, the predicted value is also 1. It has predicted correctly. So out of 4 records, for 3 records my model predicted correctly, whereas for 1 record my model haven't predicted correctly. That's why we have obtained 0.75 accuracy. Okay, instead of Gaussian NB you can also use multinomial NB also. Let us check with multinomial NB. MNB. Okay, then we will predict and see how it is working for my multinomial NB. MNB dot predict. So same accuracy for both the Gaussian NB and multinomial NB, we are obtaining the same accuracy. So you can try with all the classifiers. The same name you give. Complement Navier means complement NB. If it is Bernoulli Navier, you can give Bernoulli NB. Categorical Navier, you can give categorical NB. Simply you can change the name and you can check for each of the Navier classifier what is the accuracy. Now let us see with multiple labels. For multiple labels, how we can predict. Okay. So this is another data set I am taking. The wine data set that is available in my sklearn package itself. So from sklearn I am importing the data set. From the data set I am loading wine and I am storing it under wine data frame. Next I am going to print and see what are the features that are present, what are the feature names that are present and what are the label names that are present. So features are 13 features are there in my wine data set and 3 labels are there, 3 classes under labels are there, class 0, class 1 and class 2. So totally 13 features are there. The same thing, how many records are there means we are having 178 records and 13 columns. Then this is my data, first 5 data, wine data, first 5 records, and this is my first 5 target values. After that we will split the data, right? So we'll split using train test split function. Then I'm generating a model using Gaussian NB. I'm giving train data and train labels, and also I am predicting and seeing. Okay, The predicted result is stored under yPredict. So after creating a model, we have to check the accuracy, right? So for that I am using accuracy metrics. For finding out the accuracy, I am giving yTest and yPredict. So now the accuracy I am receiving is 90% accuracy. See, for 14 records the accuracy I am getting is 75, whereas for 178 records the accuracy I am getting is 90%. So usually the model accuracy, the one parameter that affects the model accuracy is number of records. Always we want to create a model, or we want to build a model using more number of records only. So that's it about Navy Bayes classification algorithm. Once again, Navy Bayes classifier is the fastest classification algorithm, and it can perform good with large amount of data set. Thank you all.